Live. What is up, everybody?
No.
As you can see, I've got a very special guest tonight, Mr. James from Fish Room Fever.
I appreciate you having me on. Always feels nice to be called a special guest. I love that. Can't get enough of that, right?
No, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Been a long time coming.
It has. I'm really glad you started a channel. There's so many awesome people that have started channels recently, and I mean, I've only been around like a year and a half, so it's not like I'm one of the old guys, but it's been really cool to see the fish fam grow in terms of creators,
sure.
if you will, over the past couple of years.
There's been a lot, like recently. I mean,
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
it's hard to keep up. So I always feel bad because I'll find out that people are doing videos and I didn't know it, and I'm like, it's rough sometimes keeping up with it. But I try and get around to everybody. And there are some people that I've subscribed to, and then I'm like, oh hey, they started making videos. I didn't know that.
Yeah. All right. So let me just get a look and see who's in here real quick.
Absolutely.
Got Fishy on. He says it is Fish Room Fever. All right. Here we go. Miss Amy at Sand Creek. Miss Hollywood, how are you? Miss Sandy Farrell, that's Brianne's mom.
Okay.
Yep, her mom, her sister, and her father are all they've been all over the place in everybody's streams.
That is awesome. Yeah, I spoke to her via email when Brianne had won something just to confirm.
Yeah.
But very, very cool to have them hanging out with the fish fam in the chat.
Yeah, she's been a little powerhouse too. Been getting people subscribers, and
that is awesome.
She's been awesome. Oh, let's see, Cooper. What's up, Cooper? Third Coast. What's going on, man? Nice to see you again. Muppet. Always good to see you. T-Bones. Good day, sir. Still in ya. Jacob Kelly. We've got a lot of good people in here.
We do. Lots of familiar faces.
Mike's Aquatics and Things. Always good to have him in here. Deborah Sanders. And we got hashtag Maple Street. They must be coming over from Maple Street stream. I appreciate that.
Very nice.
All right. So, I mean, I know me and you have kind of talked. I mean,
yeah,
about a few things, just like what got you into fish keeping and all that. But I don't know if everybody in here knows that. So, would you mind sharing like what got you into fish keeping? And
absolutely. So it's one of those things that I feel like it's kind of in my blood. I was born and raised down in Florida. My parents, was always on the water, was on the beach. They had a shrimp boat business and they had a marine construction business. So, after school and on weekends, I was always playing around, in the ocean, finding little critters and creatures and things. I don't really have a full recollection of it, but at one point my dad actually had a fish store.
Nice.
And it's just one of those things that I've always really enjoyed it. At one point I was pursuing a career in marine biology. That was before I met, Mrs. Fever and the kids and stuff. And at that point she was dead set on never leaving Tennessee. And I was like, there's not really a point in doing that in Tennessee, because the plan had always been to move back to Florida. But I've kept fish pretty much, always. I've had some times where, stepped away from the hobby for a little bit.
Right.
And it just kind of felt empty. And then I was one of those things that shy Mrs. Fever, she's like, why don't you set up another fish tank? She said, you really enjoyed your fish. Because when I met her, I think I had about 2,000 gallons worth of tanks. Wow. At that point, it was big tanks. Like a 55 was a baby tank for me. It was all, 125s, 175s, 200s, 220s. Mm-hmm. And I got one, and then I'd done a little bit of breeding with some things. I've done mostly piranha before then, but like I got bristlenose plecos, and that was my first experience with them. And this is when I got back into the hobby a couple years ago. And almost instantly had babies. And so then there was another tank that got set up. And then it just kind of went from there. And I was like, I really enjoy this breeding aspect of the hobby. I've done a little bit, but I haven't really done, let's see what I can get to. So it progressed into multi-tank syndrome, and then went into what I coined as fish room fever, which was, okay, I got MTS, or multi-tank syndrome. I filled one room, then I filled another fish room. And so I'm like, okay, well, fish room fever. I'm like, I've got people that are asking me questions on, can you help me with my fish? This is going wrong with my tank. And I didn't really want to give people my personal information. Like, here's my number, call me or text me. So I said, well, we'll do a little YouTube channel. People can get in touch with me there, and I can always make a video and show them, things. And
for sure,
it just kind of went from there. But I don't know. I absolutely love my fish. That would be just kind of a part of me. And that's like when we went to Florida, Chattanooga Ed, Daniken Aquatics, and we went to meet Father Fish, and we got to do some wild fish collecting. It was just a kid in a candy shop, man. They were laughing at me because I'm neck deep in the water with this net just going to town. And it was just in my element, as Kenny E. at Daniken says. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Man, that would be awesome just to get to spend some time with Father Fish,
It really was. It was a blessing. And that was, again, because of this community and YouTube. Otherwise, I never would have met Kenny at Daniken or Chattanooga Ed. And so Kenny was like, "Hey, I'm swinging through there. Want to meet you guys." And we jumped in the truck with him and rode down to Florida and came straight back up. I think it was within 48 hours. We're down to Florida and back from Tennessee, and then Kenny's on his way across the country. But it was a blast. It really was.
Yeah, can't wait to be able to do that kind of stuff again.
Absolutely.
Because I met Kenny on here. I've never met him in person, but he's a really good dude. I'd love to meet him in person.
He is an awesome guy. I will say one thing I found, I guess you could say interesting, is getting to meet several people in person now. I don't want to say we all kind of hold back, but we have our on-air personality, if you will, that's public appropriate, I guess. So it's neat to be able to hang out with people when you don't have to necessarily mind your P's and Q's, and you can just sit back and have a conversation. So that's always fun. And sometimes you talk to people and you're like, well, I didn't know you talk like that, or wouldn't have expected that from you. So, and not necessarily that was Kenny, but different people I've met. I always find that fun to get to know people behind the camera. So
yeah. Oh man.
But yeah. So I know you went on John at KG Tropicals when he was doing his members tours.
I did.
And kind of started from there with your channel.
Yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there. Before that I had posted one video, but it was basically this tank behind me with no audio. I just kind of added a little royalty-free music track to it.
Right.
Then with John and Lisa's encouragement, I started slowly making content, because I'm the type of person, I don't really like to be, I've never liked to be on camera.
Right.
It's hard for me to talk in front of people. Like, I've always been that way. So that, me doing YouTube is unheard of. It's helped me out a lot. I've gotten, even outside of YouTube, I've gotten a lot more sociable, I guess you could call it,
Absolutely. And I can definitely relate with that in terms of the being on camera part. It takes some getting used to hearing yourself and seeing yourself. I've gotten in a comfortable spot with it now, but even times, and a huge thank you to them for it, but I've been in my local fish store, Aquatic Marine, and they've got several big screen TVs in there that they use for different displays. And one of them is constantly playing YouTube videos. And a lot of that is my stuff. So there've been a couple times I walk in and I hear my video playing, and I used to kind of cringe a little bit, like, oh God, I sound like that.
Same.
So yeah, it takes some getting used to. And I will say, I think that's one of the things that might keep people from editing videos. And it's fine if you don't edit videos, but it gets easier. I don't think any of us really enjoy the sound of our voice, except for John at KG Tropicals. He loves the sound of his voice. But if you're out there and you're trying to do it and you're like, just roll with it. You don't sound as bad as you think you do.
I know that's what I have to keep telling myself, because like the first time I did a video and I listened to it, I deleted it. I was like, I can't do this crap. You know?
Yep. But I've
and
done
then I woke up the next day and I'm just like, all right, I'm doing it. You know.
Absolutely. And I've even encouraged people that have wanted to get into making videos. Look, just film it, post it as private. That way you can get past that step of even getting it uploaded, because you're like scared to even upload the thing. And it's, at least you've done that step, take that baby step. Nobody can see it. And then maybe if you get some comfort, you can share it to one or two friends of yours and they can watch it and you can get some feedback and, kind of ease your way in there. But I've done a lot of not fish related business management and things of that nature. And I was a regional training manager. So I've done a lot of the talking and teaching, if you will. But it really is different putting yourself on camera and doing that. And then you come back and you're like, oh, goodness.
Because you're watching yourself. You're not looking at anybody else but yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that I find it fascinating from a personal perspective that, my kids will be able to watch this stuff. And that's another thing I encourage people. My father passed when I was young. And so I think, well, what, if he had a channel or he had something like this, thinking about my kids when I get older, or even grandkids, they'd be able to go back and look and go, oh, hey, that's dad, or that's grandpa, and they'll have more than just like the home movies or, extra things that they can kind of enjoy. So that's another side note to it that I guess a lot of people don't think about. But
for sure, yeah. Yeah, it's like my dad lives up in New York. I'm down in Florida. And he checks my videos out from time to time. So it's like, it's nice to, from my dad's perspective together, hey, that's my son,
Absolutely. And it's weird as you progress, having fans. Like I don't ever call people fans, but I have people call themselves fans. And it's weird because I'm just me. And especially 2,400 subscribers is nothing big. I'm no Cory, I'm no John and Lisa. And when people message me like, oh my god, I can't believe you responded, I'm your biggest fan, and I'm like, I'm just a guy. It's just me. I appreciate it, but it's a whole nother world, but it's an awesome world.
Oh yeah, every day it just I get more and more involved in it.
Yeah.
Just,
Go
ahead.
I was just say Kaler's Aquatics is in here. He's actually the one that messages me every day and says, I'm your biggest fan. Yeah. Just kidding, Bob. Good to see you, buddy.
Bob's a good dude. I love Bob. The Carver family, what's up, man? That's Catfish Terry's oldest son.
Okay, gotcha. I know I've seen Carver family around.
That's Catfish's older son.
And my buddy,
I've done a couple of streams with him too. Like he's not really into fish tube. He just kind of has like a chat stream basically.
Absolutely.
We talk about movies. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And he's got a good channel too. He does some really good artwork.
Very nice.
But let's see. Somebody said something. Oh, I wanted to talk about Miss Amy real quick. She needs watch hours. She's got 1,800 subscribers. I believe she just made that number today.
Very nice.
And but she needs her watch hours so she can get monetized. So I was just gonna go ahead and let everybody know in here to kind of, if you ain't doing nothing, go run her playlist or help her get those watch hours up.
Absolutely. Amy's an awesome person. There's another person I've got to meet. Very unfortunate how we got to meet, but very blessed that I did get to meet Amy and come to be a part of her fish keeping and part of the fish fam.
There's Mr. Kenny right there. Speak of the devil. What's up, man?
Kenny.
He's been in an accident. I hope everybody's okay.
Goodness.
Jeez, man.
Kenny, I hope you're fine, brother.
Yeah, I hope you're doing all right. Hopefully I don't hope your car was the one that took the beating, but I hope your car took the beating and not you. So,
Right. Absolutely.
but let's see. Then we got Lunatic Fringe here. That's Mr. Chewy. He changed his name. I don't know if you know who Chewy is. He's
Is
been
it
around.
Chewy LTD?
I believe so. Yeah.
I didn't know Chewy changed. I see. I know I hadn't seen Chewy around, and I had seen Lunatic Fringe. But again, it's one of those I didn't make the connection on the name change.
Yeah, that's the name of his band, actually. So, and he says his son is a bass player that is going to play on a few songs, Kaler's Aquatics, including the remake tribute that I had to do for a guitar teacher. Nice. Start him young.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Craig says Kenny's watching YouTube. I think he's okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyways, so before I turn it over to the chat for questions, I want to ask you, like, if there was no restrictions, no thing, like, what would be your all-time fish to keep, like your bucket list fish, if you had no restrictions, like you could keep anything you wanted?
So I feel like it's one of those because we can't have it, we want it type things. I feel like that comes into play a lot because you hear a lot of people say, want an Asian arowana if you're in the U.S. Well, you can't have that.
Yeah.
I really would like to keep snakeheads, and that's one of those. Not just because we can't have it, but because I'd really like to keep them. I love my piranhas. I love a lot of the predator fish.
Yeah.
I feel like that would probably be it. I'm inclined to say Asian arowana just for the fact that you can't have it. More piranha is absolutely a go. Taylor's Aquatics said that. But if it was something that I can't have but would like to have, it would be some different snakeheads. Something in the realm of reality. Currently, my bucket list fish is a diamond blue piranha. It's a color variant of the black piranha, but not just that fish. But I actually want to go collect one, bring it back. That's my bucket list fish right now.
That would be cool.
Because you can order one. They're a little pricey, but I could order one. But I really want to go collect one and bring it back. That's kind of my thing. Kind of like, which Dean's collected tons of fish, but he's got the one lungfish. This guy right here. And so I kind of want to have that guy, not necessarily catch him big, but have him and then let him grow out. And I went and caught this guy down, South America with so-and-so, and that would be it.
Let's see. So Mr. Stillinya asked, would you shave your beard to have the forbidden fish?
Oh, goodness.
That's a tough one.
I might. I just might.
Right.
Do I get to let it grow back? I guess that's the big question. Do I have to keep it baby-faced, or do I get to let it grow back?
See, if I wasn't able to grow it back, I'd say no.
Yeah, if I can't grow it back, no, because I don't want to look 14. Then I've got YouTube coming at me going, "Hey, you're well, I guess technically their kid age cuts at 13, but I can't do the baby face thing."
No, I did it for 15 years when I was in the grocery business, and I've been out of the grocery business for 4 years now. Working in my own business now, and I am not going back to being baby face.
No, I I think the only time that Shy Mrs. Fever has ever seen my chin is in an old picture. I don't think she's ever actually seen my chin in person, so to speak. She saw a picture of me from 12 or 15 years ago, and it was when I was working at McDonald's, so you couldn't have anything below the upper lip. So I just had the mustache, and then she's like, "That's your chin?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's under there." She has I've got the chin dimple thing going on, so I keep that hidden. She's like, "I didn't know you had that."
Yeah, he said, okay, so he said one-time thing. I would do it for a one-time thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done it before. I've done it for meeting really high up executives in the company. So I would definitely do it for a fish.
And then Mr. Kaler asks, James, did I hear you have discus?
I do not have discus. Maybe one day. Right now, I've got so many other things I need to get situated. I need to get these guys moved into 110, which I need to get switched over from saltwater. I need to get the bucktooth tetras from LRB, which I owe him a huge thank you. He started streaming yesterday thinking it was Friday, and then he's like, wait, Fish Room Fever is streaming? We're just going to go for 10 minutes, and then we're going to kill this, which was not necessary because I'm a huge proponent of, hey, if you're going to stream, go ahead and stream. I do also understand and appreciate the courtesy between Fish Fam with the stream times. But I don't know.
Awesome.
The Exodons are going to go back here, so you all get to see more of them during the streams and things.
Cool.
But maybe one day, Discus. I don't know. They're beautiful fish, and I'd love to have them. I just have too much to get adjusted right now.
Yeah. Same here. Like I don't have any room for any more tanks. I was telling my wife the other day, I said I can't have any more. I want like at least 3 to 4 more big tanks, but I can't have until we move to a bigger house. I said because we already got rid of. We had basically 2 living rooms in our house because I had the front room set up before I turned it into my fish room. But it's like, all right, so we never use this living room. Let's just have one, and I'm going to move all my tanks into the front room. But I have to start getting rid of furniture if I want any more tanks, and that's just ain't going to happen.
Absolutely. Bob, no, I do not stream on Mondays anymore. I cut that a while back. It just, I don't know, the Monday streams, after doing Thursday nights and then Saturdays and then coming back on Mondays, not that you can have too much of a good thing. I'm just kidding. But it just seemed like oversaturation, if you will. So.
Let's see.
Amy had a question.
Let's see here. Are the angelfish still behind you? Have any of Nathan's angels had babies? If they ever do, I would love a pair.
Absolutely. So yes, they are behind me, and I'm going to get them moved into the 110. They've laid eggs, and I know at least one of them was Nathan's, but I couldn't honestly tell you if like both of the pair was Nathan's. But all the eggs that have ever been laid in this tank have ended up being eaten. I could at some point try and pull a pair when they made up again and try and get you some, Amy. And we could definitely make that happen.
Let's see. Patty says she likes seeing Fish Room Fever up close instead of shoved back into a corner like usual.
Well, see, I have the chat over me, so I don't have to deal with it, because that's another one of those things is I don't really want to look at me on the camera, kind of like we were talking about earlier. So I have myself covered with the chat, and I'm just kind of looking at you in the chat and pretending I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'm glad the camera's working, though. That's a great change from yesterday.
Yeah, you were having some problems yesterday.
Yeah, it was everything going on. I sent Bob the link on apparently the wrong app, so he didn't come on at the beginning of it. All sorts of tech issues, the internet crashing, the camera going out. LRB started streaming like right after we started, which is fine, but it was kind of funny because he thought it was Friday. It was just anything and everything yesterday, all the shenanigans.
All right, give me 1 second.
Let me take a look here. Any new fish you got coming or plan on getting you don't have now? So for me, I don't have anything in the works in terms of new things. Right now I need to, pretty much every tank that I have up and running needs touched. It needs either rescaped or moved, and a lot of them both. They need, broken down and reset up. So I don't have anything new planned until I get the fish rooms resituated. And part of that is, like you mentioned, no room for new tanks. I've got a couple dozen empty tanks that I got when they were that 60 cents per gallon online when Petco screwed up. Nice. And I need to find somewhere to put them. So I'm kind of rebuilding to where I can just have like almost storage area on the backside of one of the of tanks, without it being just a giant pile of tanks.
Right. I mean, it's all I'm doing right now is trying to maintain what I have. Like I said, I recently started a Lake Victorian Nearer breeding project.
Very, very nice.
I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but they're the males get some nice green and black on the bottom with a big old red blaze on, like from their head all the way to their tail.
Mm.
And they only get about 3 to 5 inches long. But
Okay.
Dude, I got them from Imperial Tropicals like 2 weeks ago, and within one day I already had a holding female.
Heck yeah.
So, I mean, they were ready to go.
Yeah, Imperial Tropicals is good stuff. I mean, they're good people. They've got good stock, so that doesn't surprise me. But that's awesome. Congrats on that, man.
Yeah, I'll definitely be ordering from them again. That was my first time ordering from them. So, all right, let's see.
Hey, Tim.
What's up, Tim? Welcome to the stream. Chubby Guppy says subbed. If it was to me, thank you. If it was to Fisher and Fever, thank you also.
Absolutely appreciate it. I'm hoping that was for you. I shared this out to my peoples, if you will. So I'm hoping we'll get some people over here that hadn't been over here before. Hopefully help you out a little bit. Because
Ray Aquatics, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Oh, he did both. Well, thank you very much.
Perfect. Always good to see you, Chubby Guppy.
Oh yeah, I see him around all the time.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. It's a lot of people.
Him or her. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but sorry.
Oh yeah, I do the same thing, and I do that with totally off topic, but with gamer tags like on Xbox. Yeah. I'll be like, that's dude, and it's funny because Mrs. Fever, a lot of times she'll go she, and I'll go, well, I think it's a he, and then like, well, let's pull the profile and find out here, you know. So, but to whom it may concern, thank you.
Yeah, right. Yes, Mike, please hit that like. Please hit it.
Absolutely. Got 38 people watching and 32 thumbs ups.
Awesome. And Chubby Gubby is a guy. So, all right. Now we know. Knowing's half the battle.
Yes.
Anyways, Sean Chadwick. I don't believe I've seen them in my stream before, so welcome to the stream. How many inches of planted substrate and then how many inches of sand to cap it?
So it's good to see you, Sean. Appreciate you being here. If it really depends on if you're going dirted or if you're just going in terms of planted substrate like a fluval stratum. If you're doing dirted, which I'm assuming that you're doing dirted because you're mentioning a sand cap, you really don't need more than an inch. I went a little over on mine, but like Father Fish would tell you, about an inch of sand or an inch of dirt and then 2 inches of sand on top. He's real big on the nice thick sand cap on it. I went a little bit deeper on my dirt. So I do like 2 inches of dirt and then 2-3 inches of sand, just because I didn't want to have to get back in there anytime in the near future and replenish things. So I wanted to get some extra nutrients down there. But usually a 2-to-1 ratio is typically what you see a lot of times. 2 parts sand to 1 part dirt. Make sure you get a nice thick cap to keep that stuff from coming up into the water column.
I was going to say, I was hoping you were going to take that one because, I mean, I have a planted tank, but I am by no means in any position to be giving it to my son.
Right. Now, I will say on the flip side of that, if you're using like a fluval stratum or some other planted substrate, and you just want to do a sand cap, which like this tank, it's sand capped, but it's not got dirt or anything in there. It's actually gravel that's sand capped. But you really don't have to do a thick layer of sand if you're doing it for aesthetic reasons or just to kind of help keep the stratum covered. I know like Sean at Peck Tech, he likes to do what he calls a crunchy layer over his fluval stratum and have some other substrate on top of it. You could do that in reverse even. You could do 2 parts stratum to 1 part sand cap on it, just because that stuff doesn't really come up into the water column quite the same as a dirted tank does.
Right. That's what I'm always afraid of, like, because I want to, like, eventually I would love to try like that Father Fish method with the deep substrate with the multi-layers, but I'm just afraid, like, once you put water in it, it's just going to be like a big old cloud of funk, you know.
So I have found it's not as bad as you think, but it can be. I guess that's the best way to put that. You can definitely work around it to where it doesn't become a disaster. But if you don't know what you're doing or you're not careful, I guess is the best way. You don't necessarily have to know what you're doing, but you need to be careful.
Right.
You can definitely make a mess. That being said, I have pulled quite a bit of plants out of dirted tanks without actually clouding up the system. I made the mistake of doing one with Val in it, which sounded great, but there's so much nutrients in there that Val is constantly just going everywhere.
Right.
So I'm having to pull it. So I've found that when I go to pull the Val out, I just kind of gently tug it up in small increments, and it kind of keeps it from pulling as much dirt with it, and it kind of lets that sand get a chance to kind of help pull some of the dirt off of the roots as you kind of wiggle it out of there.
Right. Deborah Lewis, how are you? Chattanooga Ed. We got Chattanooga Ed in here. Who's that guy? I never heard of him before.
I think I've seen him around. I think he usually hangs out in the other side of Fish Tube.
Yeah. Jeff's Tanks, how are you, sir? And Stillian says, and don't have fish that move substrate in dirt tanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, like my African cichlids would be a terrible thing in a dirted tank.
Definitely. I wouldn't do that. A lot of the South American or Central American, the big boys that move a lot of stuff, like I wouldn't do it with my Jaguar Cichlids because they're constantly rearranging substrate. Jack Dempsey's I've seen move a lot of substrate. So
now, how are them Jaguars? Like I've always wanted to have one. Or how like temperament wise and all that, like how
not nice.
Nice. Yeah.
The male that so the particular pair that I got from somebody else. How do I want to phrase this? They were kept in a 55 way too long and stunted. So they just never really grew. Like there's no growth after I got them. They both should be double the size they are.
Right.
But the male I have, he's super nasty. Like if he wants to breed and she's not in the mood, he will descale her. Like there've been a couple times that I've had to pull her out of the tank and salt treat her and treat her with the Seachem Stress Guard because it's got some antiseptic properties to it. Because like he's just completely just ripped her scales off of her on both sides because he's like, let's go. And she's like, nah, it's not that time. But they've been together and they've bred many, many times. It's just one of those things that they're beautiful fish. They're amazing fish. But be prepared that you might not even be able to keep them with each other all the time.
Right.
And they get large.
Yeah. I've never really been a fan of just having one fish in a tank, but I mean, Jaguars are so pretty. I think I would make an exception for that.
Yeah, they are beautiful fish. They're just like you said, they're just mean. It's one of those that, like I said, sometimes I can't even keep the pair together. So even thinking about any type of tank mates, like I wouldn't even put one of my big common plecos in with him, just for fear of how aggressive he gets. And she can get nasty too, especially when she's got eggs or wigglers or swimmers. Definitely very temperamental, at least the ones I've got.
Right now we got a question here for you from Tim Kendrick. Have a discus that doesn't appear to be eating. Thoughts?
So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. The first part of that being, it's going to eat eventually if it gets hungry enough. Now, that being said, I would probably, I don't know what you've tried to feed, but I would try and target feed maybe some thawed out frozen brine, some thawed out frozen bloodworms. Get you a pipette and try and target feed right in front of that to see if you can get him to eat or her. Make sure it's not an issue that it's just not able to get to the food before the other fish are eating it all. If in the target feeding you're finding that it's still not really eating, then I would maybe look to see if it's an illness thing, a parasite or something else that's causing it to have some issues. Patty said something about descaling. I'll have to find that in a second.
She said you try to descale Mio and you'll pull back a nub of a fin.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that would be my first thing. Would be try target feeding it some meaty foods, some high protein foods, especially since you're already seeing issues that it's not eating. That way, if you can get it to eat, it's getting some high protein food in there, and that should help out. Hey, Michelle, how's it going? And Chattanooga, Ed, to answer your question earlier about if I could eat anything right now, what would it be? After talking about the father fish trip, it would be some nice fresh seafood down in Florida on the coast. Mm-hmm. That would be it.
Yeah, we took. It was mine and my wife's anniversary this past Sunday. We picked up my niece and took her to the local seafood restaurant and got some delicious crab legs. It's become a tradition with us three.
Gotta love that.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a question from Miss Lori. I hope I'm saying that right. Do you think Pygmy corridors would be safe on Aragonite sand?
I feel like they would be. I think, and this is personal opinion, and then I'll give you why I have this opinion. But I think oftentimes we worry a lot more than we maybe should with the Corys in the substrate. And not that people haven't had issues, and I'm not saying, because I know people say, well, this is, I'm not saying that it hasn't. But I use a prime example, Cory from Aquarium Co-op, finding, those wild Corys on that really, really, really jagged substrate, in the wild, that super rough stuff. And you're like, well, I wouldn't have thought they'd have been on that. So I think a lot of times we might baby our fish, not just the Corys on substrate, but in a lot of ways. We might baby our fish more than is necessary. Right. It's not always a bad thing. But I think they would be fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, because Aragonite sand, it's not as fine as like pool sand, but it's a little more coarse than that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Chubby Guppy says I keep Corys on all substrate, and I do the same. I really don't worry about the substrate coarseness when I have Cory cats, because I feel like anything that would be what I consider jagged enough to harm them would be jagged enough to harm like my bristlenoses belly, or other plecos stomachs, their bottom side. So I just wouldn't have it in the tank, generally speaking.
Yeah. Oh, and then I guess we got an answer from Bob here, going back to that discus question. He said, treat it for parasites. That's a universal sign, not eating.
Yep. There you go. No, and I agree with that. Like I said, my first thing would be to make sure that it's not just the other fish aren't letting it eat, but right. Absolutely, more than likely it is. And now if you find that the fish is, having no problems eating once you actually get some food to it, it's not being lethargic or anything like that, you may be okay without treating, but more than likely it is probably parasites.
So, and again, I think we've talked about it before, but how many tanks do you actually have in your house?
Too many. I am somewhere around 50 currently.
Wow.
I'm going to do some consolidating, if you will. I'm taking that 110 gallon, converting it from salt and turning it into a planted community tank that like these angels are going to go into. I've got some tetras in a 55 on the other side of these tanks that you can't see that I'm going to put in there. I've got some tetras in another tank that I'm going to put in there. Trying to optimize tank space. I'll probably end result for the time being still have 3 dozen tanks, but trying to get it back down from where it was, getting closer towards triple digits. And so it's interesting.
That's what I'm afraid of whenever we move, because we're currently looking. I mean, we're probably not going to move for another couple of years, but we're currently looking for a bigger house and maybe on an acre or two of land. And that's what I worry about is, how many more tanks I could fit into the house.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, one of the big things that I have to deal with here. I'm in a single wide trailer. And a lot of people hear that and go, wow, you've got that many tanks in a single wide. So floor stress and space are major concerns,
For sure.
especially when you're looking at, big tanks, 220 gallon, 125s. If I was on concrete, it'd be a whole different ball game. The plan is eventually, because I own the trailer, but I rent the land that it's on. The plan is eventually to move to my own piece of land, and then I would like to build like a pole barn, and just turn that into a little fish room / shop, and just have all my tanks out there, and have like the nice little shipping and prep area and all that stuff, and just kind of be my fish area, get my studio going out there and all that. That's the end game, eventually.
Kind of the same for me. Like I want to move all my tanks out to like a pole barn whenever we get some property. But I'd love to start an African cichlid breeding, like a big breeding operation. Because I know they're all down south, but I want to have one up here because I'm up in the Panhandle near Pensacola.
Okay, yeah.
So I would love to be. That's kind of been a dream of mine over the last couple of years.
That would be awesome. So I love the African cichlids. I personally didn't have good luck with them, as you know. Mrs. Fever, she's a big African cichlid fan, but I still very much enjoy seeing people doing the breeding with those guys. Beautiful fish and really neat. I haven't had enough hands-on experience with it though. So
they're what got me into the hobby and back into the hobby, because when I kept fish pretty much all my life, just like you, like off and on. My dad always had fish tanks.
Yeah.
But I recently got back in. That was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. I got back in like heavy, multiple tanks and all that. But I started keeping African cichlids. I had a 75 gallon with a bunch of peacocks and imbunas in it. I got rid of all the imbunas and eventually went up to 120, and then 125 I have them, and now it's all peacocks and habs. And I mean, they're just beautiful. Like, I could sit there and watch them like all day. Like I could literally get nothing done just watching my fish.
I can understand that. I've made the comment many a time that you don't really need TV, because if I want to change the channel, I just turn and look at a different tank.
There you go. Yeah. And this tank behind me is like a close second to my African cichlid tank. I'm not a big aquascaper, and I don't like tooting my own horn, but I'm really proud of myself for doing this one.
I like the way that one looks. I've been eyeballing that throughout, kind of watching what's going on back there. It looks nice. I like the fish in it.
And would you believe me if I told you there is not a single live plant in there?
I would, because you're telling it to me. I mean, I could see some of them that I know. I'm like, okay, that's not. But there's some that looks like over your left shoulder. Mm-hmm. That looks like actual foliage back there. So, very, very nice.
Yeah, that was before I started getting into live plants. Is when I set this one up. I got a little 32 gallon Flubal Flex that I've kind of experimenting with plants in. I've got like some rummy nose tetras and some neon tetras, and I just picked up a few dwarf rainbows today to put in there, little schooling rainbows.
Now, is that the one they call the Mega Flex?
I believe so. Yeah, it's the biggest one they've come out with so far.
Gotcha. I saw if that is the Mega Flex, Sean Pectec, he's got one of those, and they are just the coolest tanks. Like that, I think that was the first time I'd seen one up close was over at his house, and those are like. They're just really neat looking, and those I think are like perfect aquascaping tanks. They really are.
It's awesome, like because it's like I got really tall jungle val in there, and it just like it goes kind of like with the flow of the front of the tank. It's really cool. It gives it depth. Let's see.
Yeah.
Saw a question here from I'm gonna say Ollie Fish Guy, OLY.
That's what I just said. OLY Fish Guy.
Yeah, OLY Fish Guy. Ferlo's Aquatics is at a discus tank. Trying to set up my 9th tank, 75-gallon discus tank. Any tips will help. I will do my research as well. Howdy, James. Hope all is well. AKA S. Shrestha.
Yeah, well, that's a fun one. My dentures always hate me trying to say that. But yeah, that is S. Shrestha that just changed their name to OLY Fish Guy.
Okay.
So is a familiar face, but recent name change.
Cool. Those are not discus, actually. Those are Severum. I got a couple different kinds of Severums in there, and blood parrots and geophagus with a couple different schools of arbs. But as far as discus tips go, I believe I don't really know much about discus, so I'm going to pass that one on to you.
All right, I will take that. And again, and OLY Fish Guy knows that I don't have any and haven't. But again, knowing that you're going to do your research, there's not a whole lot specifically that I would tell you, except mind your temperature and water oxygenation. You'll find that tank mates are going to be a little bit different because of the higher temperature, which, I mean, you can relate to that with like your African cichlids and being warmer versus a lot of the tropical, if you will.
Right.
But the Zen Ginger, and there are a lot of people that have videos, but I know the Zen Ginger, she's got discus, and I talked to her, and she generally is always chiming in anytime somebody asks about discus in one of my chats, and she's like, well, I've got this and this and that with it, or this is my tips. So I go check out her channel, honestly. And she hangs out a lot. I don't think I saw her in here, but she's pretty much in every single one of my lives, as well as a lot of other people's. She's a good resource. Of course, you've got Kitty E, Danikin Aquatics is coming up, next here in about 16-15 minutes. He's another one, great resource. And there we go. Monster Fish got posted Danikin's 240-gallon discus tank. But I know you will do your research. So there's not really much that I feel like I need to go in depth with, because I know that you set things up properly. And it's good to see you. And
can we get Zen Ginger's link in the chat, please? If one of the mods would please.
I instantly went to go grab the link, and I'm like, wait, I'm not doing the things here.
Oh boy. Let's see. I saw something that piqued my interest. Lunatic Fringe / AKA Chewy says pH comes into the issues if it is wild.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I forget that sometimes, I guess, is the best way to put it. I'm so used to there being an availability of captive bred nowadays. There's not quite the struggle there used to be with discus. And I think that's part of why you get a lot of discus questions, or a lot of people that are scared to do discus, is because it used to be, a majority of the discus you were getting were very, very sensitive to pH issues, like was mentioned. They're coming out of the wild. There was a lot of issue with trying to transition them and keeping them healthy. But discus have gotten a lot hardier in the hobby because there are a lot more sources.
Right.
And maybe not even necessarily a lot more sources, but the people that got it figured out have spread those discus out to more people. So, and it's kind of like, most other fish, even though most of them aren't quite as sensitive, once you start getting multiple generations into that being captive versus wild, they start to do a lot better. They get a lot hardier, and they're a lot more adaptable to a variety of circumstances. Sure. So
I've heard that also about German blue rams too. That because I've heard horror stories about them, like buying them from pet stores. They're usually not very healthy, but if you can find a local breeder, like we have one around here. I have yet to buy some from her, because I bought some German blue rams from my local pet store. It's probably the last time I'll ever buy from a pet store. I love my local pet store, but they get supplied with a lot of the same suppliers that some of the big box stores get.
Yeah.
And I mean, German blue rams are German blue rams if they're coming from a mass produced supplier. But we have a local one around here, which is what I was getting to. And eventually I am going to get some from her because I mean, I've had several people tell me to get them from her. It's just a matter of driving an hour to Panama City to get them.
Right.
But,
and that's always a good way to go about it is if you can get something that's in, similar water to what you've got, it's going to be that much more bulletproof, so to speak, in your tank.
Right. Let's see. Oh, Danikin's back. Said 3 mile per hour crash going to cost me some cash. Wow. Welcome to the weekend. Kenny, I feel you, buddy. I got some lady hit my door while I was getting out of my truck about a month ago. And I'm still waiting to get my truck fixed.
Yeah, it's no good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you're okay, buddy. That's the big thing, Kenny. You're all right. I know that stinks, and it really stinks to have to put money out, but at least you're all right. Everybody's safe.
Yeah. Money will come back. Your life won't.
Yeah, right. I like that. I like that saying.
Let's see what else we got going on here. Wow, they're very sensitive to beef heart as well. That came from Chewy again.
I don't mean to laugh at that, Danikin. Danikin said my truck did a number on the Prius I hit. It's just the fact that I've been in your truck and I know how big that truck is. And that thing hitting a Prius, I'm like, oh man, even at 3 miles an hour,
yeah,
that's like running into a paper plane.
Danikin said, truck's fine, he's fine. Well, that's good. Sucks you have to shell out some money. I'm sorry about that, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you should have seen, speaking of that kind of stuff, you should have seen the lady's car that ran into my door. For my work truck, I got a big GMC 2500 diesel. It was my brother-in-law's before he passed away, and we bought it like a week before that happened.
Right.
And so I'm opening up the door. She hits it like right where the door would close, like where it would latch. She hits it right there, so it just like jammed the door. Her passenger side front of her car got so crunched, and all I got was a few scratches on the door. But it jarred the door forward, so it won't shut.
Right.
But I couldn't believe, I got out of there, I looked at her car, I was like, oh my God. They do not make them the way they used to.
No, they really, really don't. Oh, it's a shame, but it is what it is. I guess, Michelle, that is a good tip. Mentioned using your water from water changes for your plants. Absolutely. It definitely helps those plants grow. I quit sending the water outside when I stopped having the garden and stuff. I'll still run it to the roses right out the door from time to time. But also just out of spite because they charge me for wastewater regardless of how much actually goes down the drain because it's not metered. They charge me based off of how much water I use coming out of the faucet.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like, well, if you're going to charge me for wastewater anyways, you're going to take the wastewater.
Yeah.
Because it costs more for wastewater than it does for the actual usage of the water here.
And Kenny said he's 20 minutes late picking up dinner and it's not even ready yet. Nice. Well, I mean, I guess at least it'll be fresh when you get it.
Right? Absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. As long as the aquarium water doesn't have meds that are plant safe. That aren't plant safe. Yes.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother topic, if you will, about, and I don't mean to open up the can of worms, but just thinking about the things that we add into, could be our gardens, could be the local waterways in terms of what we're sucking out of our tanks and putting into there. That's a whole other environmental wormhole or rabbit hole there. Just something to ponder if you're sitting around sometime going, let me think about that.
Well, I mean, honestly, with me, the only medicine I use is aquarium salt. luckily, I mean, I guess I just get lucky. I don't really have too many problems in my tanks, but anytime I do have a problem, I mean, salt takes care of it. If it's like a couple ick spots or, you know, like
Oh yes,
a sore or something, I have a lot of success with aquarium salt. Of course, I keep fish that can tolerate it too, but
right. Absolutely. No, salt is an amazing treatment. I don't want to call it a medication. It's an amazing treatment. I definitely recommend everybody keep salt on
absolutely.
hand to treat with. Bob Steenfot, mentioned yesterday, he's been using salt for years. It's a lot of people. So I highly recommend you have that on hand. It takes care of a lot of things that you don't even have to medicate for.
It does. I mean, it buffers the water. It helps, helps with the fish's breathing, their gill function and all that. I mean, it's got so many good qualities to it that, I mean, a lot of people just don't think about.
Absolutely. OLY Fish Guy says, good to see you too, bud. Did you check your P.O. box? I have not checked it this week. I checked it early in the week. I need to get back up there because I feel like there was a package that they didn't put a slip in for because somebody had said they sent me a package there.
Excuse me.
So I need to go up there and hassle them while they're open and find out. But two flat tires, I just haven't gone. I need to get those dealt with, and then I'll get up there. But I will definitely go check that out.
Understood.
I appreciate that you sent me something. I look forward to that. I always love going and checking the P.O. box and finding stickers or letters or all sorts of awesome things. You got people like Patty sending postage to help me send stickers out to people.
Nice.
It's always cool to find goodies in there when I check the P.O.
Heck yeah. Let's see. Michelle says that's true. We don't medicate other than stress coat. We have a quarantine tank that we put the fish in when and only if we need to medicate. Yeah.
Good way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That way you don't gotta put all that stuff in your main tank.
Definitely. Plus, it helps with just the overall amount of medication and cost of medications. If you're just having to dose a 10 or a 20 gallon,
right,
versus having to buy enough packets to dose 100 or even a 55. I agree. Bob Kaler's Aquatic says aquarium salt is so underutilized. Absolutely.
Yes. At 100%. Should be in every fish room.
Yeah, Patty, you are. Patty says, I'm in fish room fever swill at this point. Don't be jealous. I'm sorry there's not going to be much to give out but fish, but it is what it is. But I do always very much appreciate it. Patty was picking on me yesterday. Like James mentions, I did that every stream. I'm like, yeah, people ask for stickers every stream, so it's valid, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I thank all my members and everybody every stream. It's valid, so thank you.
Let's see. We've got about 3 minutes left. Or 2 minutes left, it looks like. Anybody else want to put any last minute questions?
Questions, comments, concerns?
Beard critique, beard's too long, you shave it off. Not going to happen.
Yeah, no, not going to happen, no. And Mike, I did send you a response to your email. I appreciate that. Mike's one of those lucky people that got my home address, so nice. Just don't share that with the world. No, I don't. I started to get. So let me preface with my P.O. box is in the description of all my videos, but I felt like I was being snarky when I went to send that to Mike. And I was going to say, yeah, it's in the description of my videos, but here it is. And I'm like, I'll just give Mike my home address. I mean, like he's ordered stuff from me, which that's stamped with my P.O. box because I've got my fancy P.O. box stamper there for when I mail stuff out, but. I mean, like you, I wouldn't hesitate to give you my address. But I have the P.O. box because there are a lot of people I send things to that I don't, know, so to speak. So this day and age with 2 kids, you never know. But I appreciate you, Mike.
All right. I want to go ahead and we're going to run over a little bit, but that's okay. I want to hit this last one before we go. How to get rid of green water with pregnant shrimp. And that is from Biscotti Nunya.
So, you want to take this one?
I don't have much experience with shrimp per se, but I mean, I do have experience with green water, and basically all I do is I cut the lights off. Okay, let me rewind. I do a nice size water change.
Mhm.
Cut the, after I fill it back up, cut the lights off, and wrap it in a blanket or a towel, depending on the size of the tank, and don't feed for like 2-3 days, and then you should see a difference.
Absolutely. No, that's completely agree with that. And the great thing about shrimp is even without feeding, there's still going to be plenty of surface area for them to graze on. So they'll be fine. I'm assuming that the shrimp are buried and not saddled since you mentioned they're pregnant. The only thing that I would say with it being shrimp, if you're worried about sucking things up with water changes, since you have shrimp, you probably already have some sort of method you use, but you can either use a pre-filter sponge or a piece of pantyhose, or just something to be able to suck that stuff out of there, and then just follow what he did or what he mentioned, with the water change. There's not really a whole lot that you have to do special with the pregnant shrimp being in there, other than make sure you don't suck them out of the tank.
Right. And Patty, how dare you forget to like the stream? Just kidding.
And we got 50 people, 49 and 44 thumbs up. So that's super awesome.
Wow.
I appreciate you all supporting this awesome guy here, Ferlo Aquatics.
I appreciate you coming up, and I appreciate you bringing some folks over.
Hey, absolutely.
I think this is my biggest stream yet. So.
Oh, well, I'm glad to do it. I mean, I had, people help me out, when I was trying to get started, back before I even realized I was trying to get started, and it was just kind of up here doing this thing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to come on, and what little I can do to help, I'm always here to help anybody I can. So
I certainly appreciate it. And I appreciate your encouragement and your support ever since I've started up a channel too. You've been awesome.
Well, and I could say the same for you though. I mean, you've been an awesome supporter of me on my channel, and the business as well. And I just I love this community, and I appreciate you. I really, really do.
This is the best community ever. Like I like spending more time on YouTube than I do out in the society, I guess you would call it. But
yeah, it's been interesting because YouTube has kind of been my access to the public, if you will, especially since after quitting my job last year, and then we haven't really done a lot of fish events the past 6 months. It's kind of just been no real public contact, and so it's been fish fam, and that's great. And then I have to deal with the real general public, or like the gaming community. I'm like, I forget how horrible people can be sometimes because I'm so used to this awesome community that we have.
I know. I get on Call of Duty sometimes, and I mute everybody. I'm just like, I can't stand these people. Like,
yeah, I'm on Battlefield on there amongst other things, and I just put myself in a party that way I don't have to hear anybody talking, because I don't even want to hear the comments. I'm like,
especially like you get like the younger ones, if you will, like if they kill you, it's like, oh, I killed you. It's like, okay, congratulations.
It's interesting, but we have such an amazing community, and that's I didn't mean to digress, but that was it's so awesome. It makes me forget how horrible the real world can be sometimes. So I appreciate you all for that. There should be Lucas. There should be some LRB. I don't know. He ran over my stream yesterday. I'm going to have to run over his a little bit, I think.
Bob, Dory's doing good. She's getting better every day. My wife hurt her back last week, so she's been kind of down and out a little bit. So, but appreciate you asking, Bob. It's awesome. Yeah, she's doing good. But all right, well, I am going to probably go ahead and shut it down, unless we give like 30 more seconds, see if somebody else has a question, and then we'll shut it down.
There we go. And LRB should still be on tonight. He did mention that he was going to do his standard Friday Q&A today on Friday. So He will be there for those of you that are looking to watch him. I definitely recommend it. And if you followed me over here, you got that notification where I shared out the stream, and somehow you're hanging out and you haven't subscribed to this guy over here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button while you're here. I really appreciate it. Help him out, help the community out, keep us all happy and fishy and growing.
And likewise for this guy over here. If anybody that's usually in my streams that may not know who James is from Fisherman Fever, go on and take a look at his channel. He's got some awesome stuff over there, and give him a subscribe.
I appreciate that. I really, really do.
And let's see. You said LRB's next, you said?
I have no clue. I know LRB will be on, but what is it, 9:03? That sounds right. Sounds like it's LRB time, if I remember correctly. I should probably check my own website and look at the stream time and see if that's correct. Gosh, you'd think I would use a resource that I have available to me.
All right, well.
Yeah. And
okay, so LRB's next.
So, yeah.
Why don't we all go over to LRB and raid him? Yep. And let's think of a hashtag to go in there. Got one, James?
I want to give him a hard time almost because I know him and I've talked. I want to give him a hard time. I don't know. I'll let you do something. I'll go in there and I'll pick on him a little bit when he goes live.
Well, we'll just do one that so he'll know it came from you. There you go, Deborah Sanders. Hashtag Fisherman Fever.
There we go.
Everybody do hashtag Fisherman Fever on LRB stream. And before we go, I just want to say, Terry, if you're lurking, Catfish Terry, if you're lurking, I hope you get better, buddy. I know you ain't been feeling good for the last little while, and I hope you get better.
Absolutely. Same. Terry, hope things get better for you.
And we miss you, but you need to get some rest. Don't worry about us. We'll be here when you come back.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a blast. And anytime you want to hang out again, just let me know. Be glad to do it.
Likewise. You're always welcome on my stream. So appreciate it.
Sounds good.
All right, James. Well, I will see everybody later. And James, I will see you backstage.
Sounds good. Take care, y'all.